Hi, Anthony Alfo here, and in this video we're going to talk about how to build a growth-oriented portfolio. This portfolio is typically going to be used to help you create either additional bonus income above what your guaranteed income sources are providing that we talked about in the previous videos, or to help reach your wants and wishes. So there's two ways to go about building a portfolio. You can build it based off of opinions and emotions, or you can build it based off of facts and evidence. And I choose number two, to build it off of facts and evidence. So let's talk a little bit about what is some of the evidence here. Number one, diversification reduces risk. Now, I know most of us out there do understand this, but what I can tell you is that oftentimes when we do look at people's portfolios when they come in, there are many ways that we can further reduce risk in their accounts. Number two, costs reduce returns. We see far too often people carrying funds or products inside of their overall retirement plan that costs way too much, and it's eroding their overall returns, or basically money in their pocket. Number three, taxes reduce returns. And that basically means that a lot of people have investments that are not tax efficient, and ultimately more money is going into the government's pocket than into your own pocket. And this is something that we see far too often. Number four, the stock market is unpredictable. I'm a big believer in the stock market. I think the stock market does a fabulous job of building wealth over a long period of time, but too many people are focused on advisors or talking heads talking about short-term and medium-term expectations, when in reality, I don't think it's impossible to know, or anyone does actually know, what it's going to do in a short period of time. So do yourself a favor and just don't even pay any attention to it and go about your life. That includes myself. I have no idea what the market's doing in the short term, but over the long term, it's a fantastic vehicle to build wealth. Number five, there are three dimensions that create higher expected returns. Those three dimensions can be broken down into: small cap stocks tend to outperform large cap stocks. Number two, value stocks tend to do better than growth-oriented stocks. Now, that hasn't been the case over the last 10 years, but it has been the case over the last 90 years. And number three, stocks of profitable companies tend to outperform companies that are less profitable. So let's go about providing a way for you to go build your very own evidence-based growth portfolio. So first, we need to determine your need, your willingness, and your ability to bear investment risk. We would do that in three steps. The first step would be to determine your need by going through a financial planning process to identify how much of an income you need from your overall nest egg. If you only need a little bit from your nest egg, that would be a low need. And if you need a lot of the money, that would obviously be closer to a high need. So that's why it's really important to start this entire process with going through a financial plan, identifying your goals, your income needs, talk about some of those other income sources first to see how much of that takes up the amount of the income need, and anything left over from a bonus, wants or wishes standpoint would be the remainder needed for your investment portfolio. Your willingness to take on risk would be more in the form of a risk tolerance questionnaire. And I know a lot of people have probably done this at some point in their lives at this point, if they're now 60 years old. So when put together with the financial plan, that determines your overall need. The willingness is more of your emotional need, that you're willing to bear that risk. So a lot of people have break points where they say, I can't watch, or it'll keep me up at night if my portfolio loses this much. So that's a number that you're going to want to get your arms around and saying, what is the amount of risk that you're able to handle emotionally? Third, ability to handle risk would be more along the lines of, if all else failed in the stock market, what would you be willing to go back to work, take a part-time job, take a pay cut in your investment plan, or take less income in your financial plan? Most of the time the answer is no, or very low in this type of assessment. But when you combine the answers here, you can really narrow down and back into the right type of asset allocation to build your very own growth-oriented portfolio. So let's just say we went through this process and we determined that 70% stock makes the most sense for your overall planning needs. And what we would do here in order to do that is that we would take 30% and put that into a bond fund or bond funds, and then we would take the remaining 70% and spread that into a globally diversified portfolio. That would look something like this. So 30% into the bond index funds, and then for the remaining stock portion, we would take about 2/3 of that, put that into the global stock index, where you would own thousands and thousands of different companies being fully diversified, and take the remaining third of the stock portfolio and tilt that in favor of those three dimensions that we talked about: small cap, value, and profitable companies. So if you wanted to do something like this, you could go to some of the companies like Vanguard, iShares. We use dimensional funds. You can also use Fidelity, T. Rowe, Charles Schwab. They also have some good funds that you could build this out with. I would just caution on some of these companies, though, that they do have other non-low-cost securities or low-cost funds that could be higher in costs. So you just want to make sure you go through a process that you are looking at the expense ratios and the overlying costs associated with investing with those companies. And then once you get it set up, you're just going to go through a process of monitoring and rebalancing that portfolio and continue to make sure that that investment is suitable or in line with your overall financial plan, that your willingness to bear risk hasn't changed as well. So let's see what we've built thus far. So from working from the left of our working years, now we've discussed our guaranteed income sources and figured out how to build that out to meet our needs, and the bonus income that we want from the growth portfolio is stacked on top as a bonus income or to address our wants and our wishes. So I hope this video has been helpful to better understand how to go about building your very own growth-oriented portfolio. In our next video, we're going to talk about how to plan for the potentially massive costs of long-term care expenses. Thanks again for watching.